No! You don't know what's inside.
Corsair Gaming RGB keyboards feature precision Cherry MX RGB key switches for 16.8 million color per key backlighting for virtually unlimited customization. Click now to learn more.
The BitFenix Pandora and I have a love-hate relationship. Well, it's an inanimate object, so I guess I have love-hate feelings towards the Pandora. Starting with the outside, you have on one hand beautifully brushed aluminum side panels with a tastefully sized and shaped window, depending on if you spring for the window model or not. On the other hand, you have the same side panels, but they pick up dust like crazy, are really hard to clean, will show fingerprints boldly and permanently if you don't handle them and clean them properly, and also they happen to wrap around the front of the case, which houses an extremely glossy front panel, which will yet again pick up fingerprints, dust, and in general just pick up imperfections very easily, but also happens to look pretty damn cool if you keep it perfectly clean. Next up, we have the screen in front of the case called the BitFenix icon. And no, the love-hate doesn't end here. Installation is easy enough. You plug it into a USB header, extract the application to wherever you want, and drag and drop photos with a canvas size of 240 by 320 on top of it. The screen supports transparencies, and if you have a charging USB header that allows power to pass through even when the computer is off, the screen will be able to illuminate itself so it can use its local memory to display the picture that we put on it at all times, like we're doing here. But it didn't work at first. It turned out that we had a bad unit inside of our first case, and swapping it made it work perfectly, but troubleshooting was more difficult than it needed to be. Because the application has no GUI or error codes, and there doesn't even seem to be a manual included with the case or posted on their website, it was pretty frustrating. And it doesn't stop there, unfortunately. Back to the side panels, we have a ball and socket pressure mounting system thing. Yeah, you heard that right. And just for reference, friends don't let friends who work at case design companies design cases with ball and socket mounted side panels. It doesn't seem that horrible at first. I mean, it's no big deal just to push the side panel into the case and it stays there, right? Cool, right? In theory, yes, but in practice, the left side panel is a bit challenging to install without using gloves or something covering your hands and immediately cleaning it afterwards. But where things really start to go off the rails is with the right side panel, which also brings us to our first look inside the case. Removing this side panel is easy enough, but the problem is putting it back on. Due to extremely restricted space behind the motherboard tray, if you were to do a lackluster job of cable management, you might not be able to get this panel on at all. This is the first case in quite a while that I have found the use of zap straps to be an absolute undeniable requirement, especially if you actually want to have side panels on your computer. While we're back here, behind the side panel is also an Ssd mounting point, which while it is a little bit hard to plug the SATA power into due to available space, is actually a pretty handy spot to mount an SSD. Shifting our focus up to the top of the case, we are greeted by a power and reset button, which would probably actuate more consistently with stabilizer bars like in the spacebar of a keyboard. If you were to press too far from the middle in any direction, the button will move a little, but not actually go far enough to trigger the switch. Between these two buttons, we will find audio jacks and dual USB 3.0 ports. The rest of the top of the case is dominated by a large fan filter, which is easily removed by pressing down on the two clip mounts. Mine is especially easy to remove as one of the clip mounts was damaged out of the box, resulting in only needing to press down one of the clip mounts. Yay. Luckily, once the broken clip mount decided to fall out completely, the filter sat flush with the case, so it was at least not aesthetically unpleasing. Under this fan filter, you'll find mounting spots for a 120mm fan, and oddly enough, a 3.5-inch hard drive. The hard drive mount features nice rubber feet as vibration dampeners, and is actually a pretty nifty spot to mount your storage device, although I do find it a little annoying that they didn't provide an option to mount it in the other direction. As it is currently orientated, the cables will likely go through the middle of your case, unless you happen to have very long SATA and very long SATA power cables, and that power cable needs to only have one SATA power plug on it due to space constraints under the hood. If they're able to turn the hard drive around, then the cables could have easily been managed, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Finally, we come to the main compartment. The SSD mount on the side of the cable management box is stylish and easy to install. The hard drive mount under the cable management box is easy enough to install, although it is a little bit weird that you'll have to flip the case either upside down or onto its side to access the screw holes which are fixed into the bottom of the case. Said cable management box is actually quite effective at providing you enough space to hook in modular cables into your power supply while hiding your main compartment cable clutter, which you will have due to lack of behind motherboard cable management space. It also sports some rubber grommets at the top, which I expect mainly to be used for things like expansion card power cables and motherboard headers. I would have liked to see them implement these rubber grommets on the motherboard tray as well in order to hide some of the rest of that cable clutter. In the back, the expansion card slots are accessible, although the tower framing can actually get in the way sometimes, especially if you have thicker fingers. And while I appreciate the fact that this piece is removable, it honestly seems easier just to awkwardly try to install things by working around the framing rather than removing it entirely. It should be noted though that Linus had an easier time with this with his smaller hands. Up in the front, you'll find two 120mm fan mounts with a surprisingly ample supply of fresh air from the ventilation holes that are hidden by the curved aluminum, where you can easily install a double rad by screwing it in by removing the front panel. This, combined with a top 120mm fan, gives the case compatibility of housing some surprisingly powerful hardware. In conclusion, do I hate this case? Honestly, no. Not at all. It's flawed, but it's beautiful. And once you manage to get it built and cleaned up, you'll probably find yourself asking, was it worth the effort? I think you'll agree with Linus and I when we say, actually, yeah. It will look fantastic in pretty much any environment. The front-facing icon screen is pretty damn cool, and you could do tons with it, from displaying your company logo if it's a customer-facing PC, to showing off the icon of your favorite internet group. It's compact and thin, and while I can gripe about the lack of space behind the motherboard all I want, when all is said and done, I understand the compromise the designers made here because the width of the case suits it very well. And they went with a philosophy that I hope more case designers will adopt. They didn't try to cram 8 hard drive bays into a case that obviously didn't need it, and instead they used what little space they had as efficiently as possible. When all is said and done, I feel like a slightly disappointed father. The case had so much potential, but much of it was overshadowed by imperfections, lack of attention to detail, and for our review sample at least, several out-of-the-box defects. Hopefully Pandora 2 will be everything I could have wanted, and if BitFenix addresses the issues I brought up in this video, I think it will be. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys thought about this video in the comments down below. While you're down there, like, dislike, favorite, subscribe, share, go to our channel to see other videos. I don't know. If you want somewhere else to comment because you don't like YouTube comments, jump over to the Linus Tech Tips forum in the link in the description down below where you can discuss this video directly or a variety of other topics throughout the rest of the forum. If you don't like the ads on the forum, if you become a contributor, it gets rid of all of them. Thanks for watching. If you want one of these shirts, not this one specifically, but a Mod 24 commemorative shirt, you should be able to also check that link in the description below. That'll be the T-Fury link. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.